thank you everybody for inviting me down here today. Again, my name is David Conroy, R&D Engineer with the National Association of Realtors. I'll be going through about 20 minutes of slides, and then we're going to have a tech panel up here. So I work for a group called the Center for REALTOR Technology. We're a multidisciplinary R&D group at NAR. It's been around for about 15 years. Basically, what we do is we're focused on technology, where it's going, and how it can affect real estate. Early on, the Center for REALTOR Technology was responsible for help building in standards for MLSs, data dictionaries, things like that. But recently, with the explosion of smart home technology and the Internet of Things, NAR has created this offspin of the Center for REALTOR Technology called CRT Labs. So we are focusing a lot on smart home technology, any Internet of Things devices, security, renewables, things like that. So we actually have a lab space in Chicago on North Michigan Ave on the Magnificent Mile, right at the headquarters of the NAR building. It's actually become one of the most popular destinations for realtors who come to Chicago and visit the NAR building. So on the fourth floor, we have about just 600 square feet where we have workbenches, we have meeting areas where companies can come in and work out of our space. Here's a kind of a quick view of it. Earlier just before I came up here, somebody mentioned 3D printing. We actually do have a 3D printer in the lab, and I'm really excited to actually come here to this audience because I think down here in Southern Florida and Miami is where some of these ideas that we've had back in Chicago could really be used. So the previous presenter, she showed a Matterport design. It was kind of like a 3D view into a new construction or a condo that was for sale. We believe that we have a 3D printer for a few reasons, but it was just a couple months ago where we had the idea of 3D printing floor plans. So if you have a 3D printer, what I showed here, they cost anywhere from $500 to $10,000. You can get a really decent one for around $1,000. And if you used some software to get a 3D model, whether it's something that you received from your builders or something you received from Matterport, if you had a 3D design of a home, you could print something like this up, which is just an actual 3D printed floor plan of a home for about 20-30 cents of plastic. So instead of just having a listing sheet for a potential buyer to walk away with, being able to actually hand them hard copy of the floor plan, we think would really set you apart from your competitors in your market. We were able to print up one of these in a few hours, and again for about 20 or 30 cents. So you might not be doing this for every property you have, but for your featured ones where you want to set yourself apart, I think this would be a really good application of 3D printing. I already know that there's cell phone apps out there that allow you to get 2D models of properties fairly easily. I think it's just a matter of time before you'll be able to do 3D models of properties with your actual cell phone. But until we get there, every time I see handouts or sales sheets for new construction, they already seem to have these 3D models in place. Okay, so taking a step back to why does NAR have this smart lab, this think tank type place? Why is the National Association of Realtors working in Internet of Things space? I get this question quite a bit. Before I answer it, is everyone here familiar with the Internet of Things and what it is? It's kind of a buzzword that you've probably been hearing more about, but simply put, the Internet of Things is the concept of taking anything that has an on or off switch and connecting it to the Internet. So in terms of real estate, this is things like smart thermostats, lights, locks. There's all sorts of things in your homes that are now getting connections to the Internet. And this is something that the National Association of Realtors should definitely be staying on top of. So why is NAR working in IoT? Well, there was a survey done last year by COLDWELL Banker and a tech website called CNET that said 45% of homeowners either plan to have smart home tech, either have smart home tech or plan to by the end of this year. And 54% of homeowners would install smart home tech if it meant the home would sell faster. And of those 54%, 65% would spend $1,500 or more. So the way I see it is this smart home technology is kind of like the new granite countertops. So how does CRT Labs, the group that I work for, help realtors stay on the cutting edge for this sort of thing? We do it through 3 ways. We do it through education, advocacy, and innovation. So for education, what we've done is we've created a checklist for smart homes. There was a story that I just heard last week. So since we are located in the headquarters at NAR, we get realtors in every week. Hundreds of realtors have passed through our lab just in the past month. I've actually, some realtors here have actually stopped by as well. I heard a story last week where a home was sold and the client ended up calling the realtor a week later saying, there's something wrong with the HVAC. No matter what I do, the thermostat keeps going up to 80 degrees. And this was in Philadelphia. The realtor called the previous owner and said, yes, they haven't changed the password on the smart thermostat. So I've just been increasing the heat on them until they do. See, this is a real-life story. So this smart home technology is not a problem of the future. This is a problem today. So we created a checklist, a smart home checklist, which goes through probably 50 or 60 different things in your property that could be connected to the internet. It used to just be when you're transferring property, the keys and the garage door opener. Now it's the lights could have a Wi-Fi password. The front door might be Bluetooth enabled. These are all sorts of things that buyers and sellers need to be thinking about. And a lot of this stuff does actually, a lot of these products do actually show up in commercial real estate as well. I was just listening to a podcast, the Internet of Things podcast, and there was a realtor from Miami on there who specialized in commercial who was talking about what type of products helps increase the value of property. So we also create these other educational materials. These can be found on our blog, crtlabs.org. So again, I work for NAR. We're not trying to sell any specific products to you, but we create tear sheets comparing different products out there. For example, this was our we call them tear sheets, our thermostat tear sheet that have the 4 top thermostats on the market, when they should be used, what the different selling points are, just so when realtors go to sell properties that have these or have clients who come to them to ask questions, they can help speak intelligently about them. In our smart home lab, we also create all sorts of demo stations so realtors can get hands-on with the different products. Some of these, when you see them online, they all look great, but actually when you get hands-on, you can really notice a difference in craftsmanship. So we've created these for thermostats, lights, locks. If you're ever in Chicago, you should definitely stop by our lab. You can get hands-on with all of these different smart home technologies. We also have extra iPhones sitting around so you can actually test the apps, because these days you seem to interface with these more on your iPhone than you actually do hands-on. Finishing up on education, we also do weekly office hours where if you're a Realtor member, if you have any question about smart home technology or IoT, you can tune into our Facebook Live every Friday. We go for about a half hour. We answer any questions you have about real estate tech. And again, that's all paid for by Realtor dues. Other ways we help bring value to the membership is through advocacy, and I think this will actually be where it's most relevant to commercial real estate. So we partnered up with some government agencies and some other MLSs for the Department of Energy for this thing called the Home Energy Information Accelerator. And the whole point of this program that was put on by the Department of Energy is for everyone to collaborate their efforts in getting energy information into the transaction where it's relevant. So I have some slides about some software we built coming up on that. But so CRT Labs, we're only a year old, but we've already formed partnerships with government agencies, universities, NGOs, major vendors. We have companies just sending us products to test for realtors. But one of the things that's really got us interested these days is the whole idea of connected cities. Is anyone familiar with the project called the Array of Things? This was a project that was born out of a grant from the National Science Foundation. President Obama earmarked $3 million for this project. It's starting in Chicago. The Array of Things, what it is the city is going to be hanging 500 of these sensors around the city, and these sensors measure things from our environmental air quality, light, air pressure, even vibrations. They have cameras on them, so they're able to measure pedestrian and vehicle tracking, and all of this information is going to be open to the public. So imagine 500 of these things hung from light posts around Chicago that are giving us everything from air quality to people and vehicle counts, and then publishing the data open to anyone who's, any entrepreneur out there who would like to use that information. I can only imagine the implications this could have for things like site selection. So this is what they look like. We were actually, my team was a part of assembling some of the initial units. So it's really great to be working with the National Association of Realtors and getting to work with universities and government agencies for potentially improving communities through technology. Another thing I'd like to talk about today that I'm not sure everyone realizes is that the National Association of Realtors offers smart growth grants. This is if you're a realtor and you have an idea that could improve any piece of real estate or community, you can apply and get about $10,000 or so to help improve a community. We are doing a case study right now with a town called New Buffalo in Michigan. They are looking at analyzing traffic and pedestrian counts for where to add, parking meters. So this is a screenshot right out of one of our offices onto Michigan Ave in Chicago. It's a very popular street. Can anyone give me a guess on one of the most popular streets in Chicago? How many pedestrians cross in front of the building every day? Any guesses out there? It's about 40,000 people. So this information, you can get pedestrian and vehicle counts from government agencies, but using this software here, it's by a company called Placemeter, you can actually get live counts of the number of people that are going in front of your building. And if you want to see what it looks like, I've got this GIF here that shows it actually tracking people and cars. And it also will track people as they enter or exit buildings. Now, the cool part about this technology is that you can use existing infrastructure. So if you're working with a building that already has CCTV cameras in place, like security cameras, you can use those existing cameras to get this information. And it's because of this that we have a retail space for rent at the bottom of our NAR headquarters, and we're able to use this this technology to say things in our marketing brochures like 40,000 people pass by this building every single day. And you own this data too. Now, this is another surprising part about this tech. Again, it's placemeter.com, is that it only costs $60 per measurement point per month. So it's extremely affordable, uses existing infrastructure, and it gets you data that you can use in real time. And the graphs that they output are really great as well. So you can get detailed vehicle and pedestrian counts by day, by hour, really useful information. So $60 per camera per month. We are partnering with that city, New Buffalo, Michigan, and Placemeter to hang about 5 cameras and study the traffic and pedestrians for an entire year. And the 10 grand that they applied through NAR is going to cover almost all of it. So I already spoke about education and advocacy. The last piece I'd like to talk to you about is innovation. We're doing this 2 ways, software and hardware. So who here has a Fitbit? Yeah, I wear one too. Every day, it's trying to get my 10,000 steps. It seems like everybody out there is all of a sudden incredibly concerned about analyzing their personal health. We're tracking our steps, we're tracking our calories, we're tracking the number of hours a day we stand, yet nobody out there is really tracking the health of their homes or buildings. And today, the reason why we care about the health of our buildings is because indoor air quality is 5 times more toxic than outdoor air quality. And we spent 90% of our time indoors. So we feel at NAR and at CRT Labs that the past 20, 30 years, buildings have all been, efficiency focused. Going forward, we believe that they are going to be more wellness focused. And so how do we get there? Today's real estate data, when it comes to MLS listings, after it's been uploaded once, it's mainly static. We think that technology and the Internet of Things will help make that information dynamic. So I wanted to show you guys a piece of software that we built called Rosetta Home. This is open source software, so anyone is willing, it's open for anyone who wants to implement it themselves. And again, this goes back to that home energy information accelerator that I was speaking about before. We want to put real-time information into MLSs. So imagine this is, your MLS, you have 5 buildings for sale. Say this is your Realtor.com or whatever third-party portal you use to demonstrate your listings for sale. Let me start this GIF. So, second. So this looks the same as most MLSs. You have your picture, your tax information, your square footage. But this screen right here is actually the Rosetta Home part of the application that we've built. So this red bar up top is actually showing you the air quality of that building for the past 2 weeks. The second row here, that's the energy usage overlapped with indoor and outdoor temperature. And the final bar down here is indoor and outdoor humidity. That way you can get a better idea of the energy efficiency of the building because you know what the the internal thermostat was set to. So it's an amazing amount. This is all, we call it Rosetta Home because we want it to speak to as many different devices as possible. And so this is all possible with just off-the-shelf devices and free software. So my team has 5 members on it, and we have these devices just in our homes. And this is just an animated GIF of the amount of data that these smart home IoT devices generate. It's thousands of data points per hour. So this can all be done with that free software I said, and about $300 or so of hardware, which is good. It's not too expensive. You're able to get temperature, humidity, CO2, noise. It's a good start, but it's a little bit expensive if you're going to be filling a building with these sort of things. So this brings me to something I'm really excited to share. This is actually the first time I've presented on this. It's a project I've been working on all summer. So earlier on in the presentation, I showed a picture of the entryway to our labs. There's a bunch of quotes on these walls. One of them is just the preamble of the Realtor Code of Ethics, under all is the land. But we also have quotes by some of our favorite inventors or scientists. This one is from Alan Kay. The best way to predict the future is to invent it. So while we had been able to use off-the-shelf products that cost around $300 or so and gave us about 4 out of the 10 things that we would like to measure, we figured that we would hire some PhD candidates and some engineers like myself, and we would build our own air quality sensors. So right here, what you're looking at is currently going by the name the Pi AQ. AQ stands for air quality. Pi is just the computer board that it sits upon. So again, this is an open source, open hardware, affordable indoor air quality sensor that could be dispatched in high numbers. So what can this sensor, what are you looking at here? What can this thing do? It can measure temperature, humidity, VOCs, those are volatile organic compounds. When you think of VOCs, think of anything in a new home or a new property that causes an odor. Almost all of those are VOCs. So it can detect, paint fumes, formaldehyde, benzene, all of these things that could affect the health of the occupants of the building. It can do carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, barometric pressure, light, noise, nitrous dioxide. So these are all things that could affect the occupants of this building. So it's designed that it can be built for by about $60. My idea is, or our plan is to be able to create a kit that kind of like as a closing gift, a realtor could hand these out for less than $200. You could have 6 of them. We could probably bring the price down even further than that. Right now, it costs us about $30 to manufacture it. But our idea is first to get these in the hands of hobbyists. So if you're worried, if you're concerned about the size of it, it's actually about half the size of a business card. There's one on my desk. That's the first one we got working this summer. I know this is probably not what you expected from the National Association of Realtors to be building and developing hardware and software, but we saw a market opportunity where we could bring this information that's going to be important to consumers to realtors at about 1/3 of the cost of a commercial product. So some information about that project in particular is at piaq.io. I'll be hanging around after the panel here to talk more about it. So again, the first wave of this is we're going to be getting it in the hands of hobbyists, tech junkies who like playing with these small circuit boards, and then sometime next year mass produce these so realtors or people who are interested in air quality of their buildings can purchase these and get this information affordably. We also are interested in finding field labs. So say you have a new construction or a project you're working on where you'd like to test some of this hardware for us. Contact me. Got my contact information here. Dave at CRT Labs. We'd love to talk to you more about getting these sensors out into a great variety of climates. So we're up in Chicago, having some down here in Miami would be awesome too. And we really think, kind of like before when I said that 3D printed house could set you apart in your market. If you're able to, show that your building has, the noise levels in your building are quiet. You get a lot of ambient light. The air quality is good. There's not a lot of carbon dioxide in the air. These are things that I think are going to be important to tomorrow's consumer. So that's why we're working on this project, and thank you for giving me a chance to talk about it.